where them done they make progress for trade talk as at Friday. The shake make stock market sink and all prices come the shake to come back.
Seek their dream. Throb with desire. Joy welled up in their hearts. A brand new life adventure is about to begin. Create a life for someone new. Nigerians in China on Star Times Da Donkoa.
According by Prince Harry, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, don't born her first pikin, wey be boy with am. According by reports, now for early momo, the Duchess enter labor and the Duke dey her side throughout. The baby boy go be number 7 in line to the British throne behind Prince Charles, Prince William and in 3 children, and Prince Harry. It will also be the 7th great-grandchild for Britain Queen Elizabeth II. Namin don announced Meghan pregnancy in October during her first overseas tour with her husband for Australia. Few weeks ago, the Duke and Duchess been done announced say they want to make the arrival of their Pekin day as private as possible.
Yes, I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support for everybody out there, from everybody out there. It's been amazing. So we just wanted to share this with everybody.
That now waiting we get on top entertainment. Coming up next, now the very best for Inside Sports Story. Toronto Raptors forward Kawhi Leonard don't continue in historic post-season run as he scored 39 points and record 14 rebounds for the Raptors' 101-96 points win over the Philadelphia 76ers for Game of 4 of their Eastern Conference semifinals. For the first 9 games of the 2019 playoffs, Leonard don't be the first player for NBA postseason history to average 30 points, 5 rebounds and 3 assists for 1 field goal percentage greater when he high past 65. He did average of 32.3 points, 7.7 rebounds and 3.4 assists with 1 field goal percentage of 66.2%. The series don't tie for 2-2 and Nasoy go return to Toronto for Game 5 on Tuesday. Una do well that now the join Tory we get on top this o'clock. For more better information, go follow us for Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And it go make sense if you subscribe for our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We go still jam later with more Tory where they do bagan for Inside Wiobodo Naija and Wiobodo World. Don't forget to join us. My name na Betiana Unweli. Make una get a very, very kaja day.
That is how we get looped into a cycle of insanity, repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. That cycle of failure is unsustainable and it has to end now.
Infection Train is back.
They take us to the
church and start asking us to call our people to send money.
What can be done as an intervention for them right now to stop abuse of all children?
You're watching Africa on the Move in partnership with DW. I am Fumi Onwajefe. Today, we'll be focusing on activism across the continent. Not satisfied with certain issues and of course with ineffective leaders who aren't dealing with the crisis on the continent, a lot of people are coming together to find their own solutions and raise awareness. We start in Rwanda, where Freddie and Kayla have set up Media for the Deaf. Let's find out what that's about.
Freddie Rangira and Kalia Uwedegije have been campaigning for media inclusion of the deaf since 2014. According to the latest census, there are more than 30,000 people with hearing disorders in Rwanda. Yet few in the broader public are aware of the challenges that come with deafness.
The deaf community is among us the marginalized into even the disability movement. They are the one who are more marginalized than others.
The idea to launch Media for the Deaf came from a research project on how the media serves disabled people. The findings were alarming. With only one news program available in sign language, deaf people in Rwanda have extremely limited access to information.
After the recommendation I got, I said, what is my contribution or my solution to that problem that they are facing as someone who studied journalism and communication.
Today, the media team is preparing for the next video shoot for their #SignYourName campaign. Diane Gashumba, the Minister of Gender and Family Promotion, has agreed to participate. The two activists were inspired by the success of the recent Ice Bucket Challenge on social media.
I thought it would be easy, but it was difficult. But I was supported and it was good. It was a good experience.
The minister also promised further support for the team and their initiative down the track. 48 celebrities have already taken part, among them local artists, athletes and actors.
nshobora kuganira mu rurimi rw'amarenga. Ese kuki wowe utagerageza? Murakoze.
The group recently won a Young Rwandan Achievers Award for their efforts. Freddie is proud that all their work and commitment has been recognized.
And this is Keria in between receiving the award. On the left, it's the First Lady of Rwanda, Madame Jeannette Kagame, and Honorable Minister of Youth and ICT. This came at the right moment because it gave us the spirit of going on doing more of the advocacy work we are doing.
Media for the Deaf also plans to offer sign language workshops for journalists, as well as media training for deaf people. A difficult task because the young organisation is still struggling financially. So far, the 9 board members have had to pay all expenses out of their own pockets. But their success proves that good ideas don't need much to grow.
We challenge you.
Half of the African population lives in poverty. These people do not have access to basic human needs such as nutrition, clean water, shelter, and more. 47% of the African population is living on $1.90 or less, and 2 in 5 Africans are illiterate. Now let's bring that to perspective. In Kenya, poverty is the leading cause of teenage mothers, particularly from the ages of 14 to 16. Now, one young woman has started an interreligious school to encourage young girls who think that their education and in turn their lives are over because they became pregnant.
Every week, Mariam Masih visits this public school in Malindi. She doesn't want the school to be named. This is part of her program's strategy to protect the girls, Mariam says. The Kenyan Coast Interfaith Council of Clerics reintegrates teenage mothers into school. The teachers try to support these young girls aged between 14 and 16. They come from different religions, mainly Catholic and Muslim. This interreligious approach is of great importance to the different leaders in the Interfaith Council.
These interfaith clerics also, they have a common meeting where they all discuss, they sit down to discuss the issues of children, because when problems comes, they will not face a particular religion. They face each and every child from whichever religion that is.
Poverty is the main problem in this region. Young girls get lured by men offering to buy them simple items like sanitary towels. They get abused and become pregnant.
The parents would ask, if she goes back to school, who will take care of their children? And we were able to talk to these parents and show sense to them that these are still children and they need to be given an opportunity.
This argument finally convinced Pili Ramadhan to also let her daughter participate in the project. Her daughter is with the green scarf and didn't want to be filmed or named. We shall call her Shumi. Shumi is only 16, but already has a 1.5-year-old child. I was pregnant when I was still in school, and after I gave birth, I decided to go back to school and learn, because life will be difficult. For her mother, Pili Ramadhan, having another child to feed was a shock. She's unemployed and still doesn't know how to make ends meet. The 55-year-old widow also supports the 2 children of her son. When I learned about the pregnancy of my daughter, I was so sad and bitter that I was beating her all the time. My neighbors told me that beating is not the solution, and it's not the end of learning. Mariam Masih visits one of the girls who has landed on her feet despite her early pregnancy. Sylvia Jumwa has a small tailoring shop. Her first child died when she was 16. For Mariam, she's a great example for the other girls.
We are trying to build that social cohesion where people can coexist together peacefully, despite the fact that they come from different backgrounds, different ethnic groups and different religions.
Jumwa took up a microcredit, which she is now able to pay back. She even employs 2 young seamstresses. For Masih, teaching the young women to provide for themselves may be the answer to their problems, and they no longer have to accept the dubious offers of the men.
From pregnant school children to street children, Isaac Peter is trying in his own little way to take children off the streets.
Victor Brown's stage name is T1. He's a breakdancer in Monrovia's Paynesville neighborhood. Thanks to the help of Isaac Peters, T1 is now about to go to school. I was always trying to find a way to go to school, and luckily I met him. He told me he could help me start school, and he encouraged me with my dancing. He said I should dance at school to motivate my friends outside who are not educated to attend school. Isaac Peters set up this high school after Liberia's civil war to educate street children, but he's been struggling to keep the school up and running. Financial problems mean it's hard to maintain the buildings. There are about 20 teachers for nearly 2,000 children, but only half of the pupils pay fees. Others, like Victor, rely on Isaac's scholarship program, co-financed by the other children. Isaac Peters spent part of his own childhood on the streets.
Living the streets as a child at a time enabled me to secure a good future and securing a good future is one thing, but it's also helped me to impact the lives of other people. And the street life also gave me an idea on how it looked like to be out there sleeping on the market tables.
After classes, Isaac often heads to the local cemetery where his runaway son Cyrus hangs out.
I feel that I'm obligated to him to transform his life from the grave to someone who will make a difference in life.
Cyrus used to live with Isaac, but then he started stealing and turned violent.
The passion that I have to help many of our children, especially war-affected children and children from the ghetto, I go into the graveyard and take these children from there.
Isaac couldn't find Cyrus today, so he talks to the other boys.
If you want to become a mechanic, we can strike the deal. If you want to become a carpenter, we can strike the deal. If you want to become a plumber, we can strike the deal. Let's meet.
At night, Monrovia is a vibrant city. It's the first time in a long time that Isaac Peters has been able to check out some of the city's clubs. Victor Brown, aka T1, is performing tonight at a dance club where many of Monrovia's street kids go to blow off steam. Some also come here to convince other people to join Isaac Peters High School. But for now, Isaac insists T1 should just concentrate on entertaining his fans.
Our next activist is a journalist who is fighting for albinos in Tanzania. Let's watch Henry Adimu's story.
It's breakfast time at Henry Mdimu's house in Dar es Salaam. Albinism, the absence of melanin in his skin, is not an issue here at home. But that's not the case elsewhere in Tanzania, where people with albinism are frequently maimed and even killed. Henry Mdimu is a journalist who helps shed light on such crimes. He likes to engage with people, even if his life isn't always easy.
You won't get anywhere if you complicate everything in your life. You have to accept things.
Accept things.
Accept the way you are, and then move on.
Move on.
Many people in East Africa believe that albinos are ghosts. To change that attitude, Henry Mdimu regularly talks to people without albinism. He then publishes the interviews in his newspaper and on his blog.
If you see a person like me, an albino, walking down the street, what comes to mind?
Some people see albinos as a way of making money. But to me, you are like any other human being.
For over a decade, Under the Same Sun has been fighting for the rights of albinos in Tanzania. The NGO helps those who have been brutally attacked by people who believe albino body parts can bring wealth and good luck. On the black market, a limb of a person with albinism can fetch $5,000, an entire body hundreds of thousands. Mariam Stamford is one such victim. Sometimes I have nightmares about people cutting off my hands. But I thank God that these kinds of nightmares happen so rarely now. Her assailants have never been prosecuted. Crimes against people with albinism are often not fully investigated. That's why Henry Mdimu is working to increase awareness, one person at a time.
I'm trying to convince people to change their minds and be heroes in their societies.
Change their mindset, being the heroes in society.
Henry Mdimu's work is far from over. But one day he hopes to live in a Tanzania where people with albinism can live their lives like any other human being.
Corruption, corruption, corruption. It's not just a buzzword in Africa, it's the reality we live in, and it affects all spheres of our lives. Jonathan Idoma in Liberia is speaking against corruption in the education sector.
8 o'clock in the morning in Liberia's capital, Monrovia. Jonathan Doma is a guest on the live show Radio Maria. He reports about the latest incidents of corruption in the education system. The 28-year-old works for the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. Today he speaks about corruption in schools, about teachers putting money intended for books into their own pockets. The radio show is an important platform for the activist.
It is important because the public depends on us a lot. There's a lot that is expected of our work by the public, so we always try our best to share the result of our works, our findings, our research, the findings of our research to the public.
Tell us about some of those things that you are currently working.
There's a lot of interest in the show. Every day, more and more people talk about corruption in government institutions and in politics. Despite some initial progress, Liberia recently fell in the world's Corruption Perception Index.
We are the common people who will benefit from the resources that this country has. For all the resources that the country has, we cannot see it because of the corruption.
Corruption is a very, very serious problem in our country. Very serious to the extent that every part of Liberia is being affected by corruption, the public sector and the private sector.
Jonathan Doma and his colleagues at Sental would be fighting a losing battle were it not for their dedicated volunteers. Their problem, when they cover a case of corruption, it doesn't mean that the offender will be punished. The activists aren't giving up, though. In fact, they're starting to see results. Here at the University of Liberia, students are staging a protest against rising tuition rates. They're upset about a lack of transparency. Jonathan will meet with the University Council to clarify some important points.
What will be done with the money that is expected to come from the students, what improvements we expect to see. For example, the institution lacks a functional library, they don't have computer labs, they are talking about internet on campuses. None of them are actually happening here right now.
After a week-long standoff success, the president of the country rules for the status quo to be maintained. There will be no raise of tuition fees for now. More importantly, though, it's a good sign for Liberia, says Jonathan Doma, that more and more young people are stepping up to ask difficult questions.
Radio is intimate, it's direct, it's human, and that's why our next activist is using the medium to push his cause.
These are now victims of a terror drill. Remember, the word terror comes before the drill. So in a drill all the way to the government, how is Uhuru reacting where he is? In his country, one person, broadcaster. Mbona umengoja that long?
Sino kwa mse kuna mtu alichoka maji.
Ama popali kamna.
Unaekelewa ati unaekelewa kila.
We finally identified the programming that relates to the youth and fully represent. And I remember the theme that I had in that change is that now I'm going now to create a radio that is a friend. A different radio that is not Mr. Know-it-all, whereby the hosts are assumed knowledgeable and knows. I want to create a radio that can also learn from people.
Conversation iendelee, tuchanuane tukiwa mayuti.
Na Ghetto Radio 89.5.
Unajua huko hata nishapata mrembo, nataka kupanda mbegu huko Kataka. Haru Ghetto Radio, pirokti na kukua na skupoa.
Nikakuja paka hapa. Ule nilikujanga hapa. Nikakuja nikafanyiwa interview. Kufanyiwa interview sasa. Siku ingia mara hiyo siku kuwa presenter hiyo siku. Nikaenda nikamaliza wiki kama moja kwa street. Sonko yetu maji akanitumania.
Na wanyosh. Vipi? Yani sawa. Base. Poa. Kanyumba karia twakoma no uyu na ni okite ngamuhe kiraro ka ngui. Aria twenda kunyitirwo nawe.
Ghetto Radio tu nilikuwa tu naisikianga hivyo, saa zingine nilikuwa tu nafungulia Ghetto Radio nasikia marege nikiwa mtaani. Unajua masafara wengi wanapenda Ghetto Radio juu wakati uko pale mtaani ukiweka Ghetto Radio
unasikia poa ukisikia reggae hata kama huna kaki. Kabisa. Kwa keti jo.
The experiences you could talk of are unheard of, unwritten stories are unheard of. The real experience. Yes, you know somebody is a street boy, so probably most people know the worst you know is Gulu na kulala nje. The beats everyone will know generally. But now when you start to talk, you'll find a lot of issues going on there. But those issues were unbroadcasted.
So what will you be fighting and pushing for this week in your own sphere? And to quote the words of Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. That's all on Africa on the Move this week. See you again really soon. Bye.
Far away in a foreign land, they have embarked on a new adventure. What challenges will they confront? What pleasures will they experience?
Is to be the best in this competition because I really want to show the African how beautiful they are. Amazing!
A brand new life with all possibilities.
Goal 10 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals speaks largely about eliminating inequality amongst countries and peoples. The United Nations clearly recognizes that businesses can also exacerbate inequality by being complicit in perpetrating biases and discrimination. The question, however, is how exactly does this resonate with Nigeria? Lagos is the most populous city in Nigeria and has millions of persons. Among these are little persons also, often found in Osborn in Ikoyi. They are trying to make a living as they grapple with inequality and discrimination because of their physical appearances. Wisdom Abba and his wife Joanne are one of the little persons who moved from other parts of the country into Lagos to make a living by getting employed despite their physical inadequacies. They say that in Lagos, they had hoped to win the battle against discrimination, but this fight, however, seems to be a lost one as they are constantly marginalized by some employers while hunting for jobs.
Sometimes, somebody will promise me at where I'm selling market, just with drive car, we say we find work for me. I will pull up other person. At last, the person will know, they will not find job. The person promise me, many of them.
When I want to look for a job, they say they can't give me a job, that I'm too short, that I should go.
This couple is not the only little person seeking an end to discrimination in job hunting. Nkubi and Shapali are celebrity broadcasters. They too say that they have had a painful taste of societal rejection.
I got called up for an interview. One of the management now walked up to me and told me that, look, I am sincerely very sorry. You are not the kind of person we are looking for.
My sister, you know, growing up, to be like, Daddy, where do you get this thing from?
Though Shapali comes across as a very confident woman, she says growing up was torturous.
I'm talking to you, I don't know my mom till now. She ran away because I am a dwarf.
She adds that her self-esteem was dealt a devastating blow for even thinking of marrying a tall man and begetting tall offspring, as her mother-in-law rejected her.
I had a relationship that the guy, you know, took me home to the mom. And I was there in their living room, seated, and the guy went to call the mom. The mom came, I was like, where? Sorry, oh my dear, sorry. Where is the wife? My son said he brought. And I was like, it's me. I was like, stop joking now. How will it be you? My son came up to come that he brought somebody. You know, I was not accepted.
Bash and Iyatokpe are 9-to-5 persons. They reveal that they have also been treated with inequality countless times.
My own junior brother, the one that follows me, he also thought I'm kind of like a junior to him. We usually fight every day.
I go one place. I say, then they find person will go sweep here. They say not true. I say I won't do it. They say, you do it. Which hand do you want to take sweep here?
With only 12 years left to expunge inequality by 2030, only little is known if Nigeria will truly wipe out this menace. But Wisdom and his wife Joanne, Nkubi, Shapali, Bash and Iyatokpe continue to hope that someday they will be treated like every other human being. I am Mary Chinda for Plus TV Africa.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the result of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I think we've done very well in the very difficult circumstances in which we took over governance.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say!
The perception in itself does more harm than actual corruption that you have.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Country people, we thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Niger, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way day inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Niger, every go enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more story, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Hello and welcome to News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and here are the stories making the headlines. Now we begin our news bulletin at this hour with news across Nigeria. We have reports that President Muhammadu Buhari has ratified the appointment of Bello Maitama Yusuf, a former Minister of Commerce, as member of the Board of Directors of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, NRC. Awal Sankara, Special Assistant and New Media to the Executive Governor of Jigawa State, confirmed the appointment, saying Maitama Yusuf was nominated by Muhammadu Badaru Abubakar, the Governor of the state. The board was inaugurated on Thursday, May 2. Maitama Yusuf served as the senator representing Jigawa Southwest at the National Assembly between 1999 and 2007. In legal matters now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has rejected an ex parte application for an order stopping President Muhammadu Buhari from swearing in Justice Tanko Muhammad as the substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria. Muhammad has been acting as the CJN since January this year, when President Muhammadu Buhari suspended the former CJN Justice Walter Onogen. The main suit, filed by Malcolm Omihobo Foundation, a group being promoted and represented in court by lawyer Malcolm Omihobo, is challenging Muhammad's fitness to hold the office of the CJN. Justice Iyang Ekwo rejected the group's ex parte application requesting an order stopping President Buhari from swearing in the acting CJN in an acting capacity in a ruling on Friday. Rather than grant the prayers contained in the ex parte application, the judge in his ruling directed the applicant to put all the 7 defendants on notice. And in other reports from the Federal High Court in Abuja, it has also granted permission to the People's Democratic Party's candidate in the last governorship election in Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, to travel to the United States of America for medical checkup on Tuesday. The judge, Justice Iyang Ekwo, however, ordered him to honor a fresh police invitation on May 6 before traveling the next day. The court specifically directed the police not to prevent the senator from embarking on his shuttle trip on May 7 as he honors the invitation on May 6. In granting the senator permission to embark on the trip on May 7, the judge ordered him to return to the country on June 9. Adeleke's passport has been seized by the court last year as the bail condition granted him following his arraignment before the judge on charges of examination malpractices. Granting Adeleke's request for his passport on Friday, the judge ordered the chief registrar of the court to release the passport to him to enable him to embark on the foreign trip. Moving on now, this week marks the start of Ramadan for more than 1 billion Muslims around the world. And back home in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari has sent greetings to Nigerians in general and Muslims in particular as they commence the month-long Ramadan fast. The President's Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, in a statement in Abuja, the nation's capital, on Sunday said that the President's greetings followed the sighting of the lunar month of Ramadan. President Buhari called for the continued peace, progress and prosperity of the country. According to the President, Islam is a religion of peace that upholds the values of tolerance and mutual coexistence without a place for hatred and violence. He therefore urged Muslims to use the period to build a relationship of friendship and harmony with fellow citizens of other faiths.
He happens to be one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and particularly happens to be the 3rd pillar of Islam. That is, you can't be a complete Muslim if you don't observe it. In the Holy Quran, in the Surah Al-Baqarah, Quran 2, verse 183, it says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaykum siyam kama kutiba ala allazina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. The Almighty God is trying to enjoin the Muslims all over the world that the month of Ramadan is a month where you must fast. We have enjoined fasting on you just like we have prescribed for those before you so that you may be righteous. It's that particular month of the year where as a Muslim, you as long as you are healthy and as long as you don't have any other predicament medically, fasting is enjoined on you because you must be righteous, and it makes you live differently on like every other month of the year. Aside from starving yourself from not eating, you must also ensure that it takes you closer to God. For me, that's basically what that month simply signifies.
Why is fasting an important element?
Well, it is an important element because the month of Ramadan was the month the Holy Quran was revealed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in that month, there's a particular night in that month that every Muslim should seek for. And that night happens to be the last 10 days of Ramadan. In that last 10 days, there's a particular night in that night where every Muslims all over the world don't sleep. Everybody is awake praying to God to seek God's blessings. So if one is able to see that night, then at that night, they call it the night of majesty. At that night, every goodies one has been aspiring from God, at that point, from what we read in the Quran, is granted by God. So that makes that month very special. And I think the take home from the month of Ramadan shouldn't only be that you are holy in that month and every other month you are not holy. The take home should be, as much as you are holy in the month of Ramadan, you should continue to be holy even at every other month, so you can be a righteous person and be a closer person to God. Yes,
what behaviors, aside from Muslims, what behaviors do you expect from the faithful at this period and beyond, and all Nigerians as well?
Well, the holy month of Ramadan is a month of giving, a month of kindness. As we speak now, Muslims all over the world are stocking their house with foodstuffs, not just for them alone, but for other Muslim faithfuls around them. It's a month where you give out even more than you've been given to the less privileged. And even after the month of Ramadan, such good deeds should continue. That is supposed to be a way to see the month of Ramadan. Not for one to be holy and be righteous during the month of Ramadan, and then every other month you go back to your evil ways. You are supposed to see the month of Ramadan as a reminder that this is how I should live my life as a Muslim. This is what God has ordained me to do. This is what God has commanded me to do. To be good to those around you, to be faithful, to be prayerful, and see God as one. Then every other month it should continue, and not just in the month of Ramadan.
Well, that was a conversation held earlier on in our Lagos studio with the Muslim faithful Ewela Mustafa on the significance of Ramadan. And still in reports on the holy month of Ramadan, former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has charged all Muslims to pray for the country as the month of fasting, Ramadan, commences. The fasting, which is observed yearly by Muslims worldwide, commenced on Monday. Today, and the former Vice President urged Nigerians to take advantage of the period to pray for peace in the nation. In a statement signed by him on Monday, Atiku called on Nigerian Muslims to imbibe the qualities of discipline, abstinence, prayer, as well as self-sacrifice. And I'll bring you a report from Sokoto. The Sultan of Sokoto and the President General, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Alhaji Muhammad Sahad Abubakar, on Sunday declared today as the first day of Ramadan. The announcement marks the commencement of the 29 or 30 days of fast by Muslims across the country. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, in which Muslims will observe 1 month fasting. Making the announcement in a Sokoto palace, Abubakar said the commencement of the fast followed reports of sighting of the moon in some states, which marked the end of the month of Shaban, 1444 AH. The states include Sokoto, Yobe, as well as Kebbi. Now, the NCCIA leader enjoined all Muslims to devote themselves to fully develop and worship Allah throughout the holy month and use the period to pray for leaders, peace and stability, as well as prosperity of the nation. And away from the Ramadan messages, now President Muhammadu Buhari has dismissed the report that his London trip was to compile the list of persons to be appointed as ministers during his second tenure. The president stated this on Sunday in Abuja after a 10-day private visit to London. President Buhari stated that he did not discuss the issue of the appointment of new cabinet ministers with anybody On possibility of introducing fresh approach in the fight against insurgency and banditry, the President acknowledged that the acting Inspector General of Police was doing his best to curtail the menace. Now, Mustafa Iwenla, a public affairs analyst, also shared his thoughts in this matter.
I should think that either Buhari was in Nigeria or not, I don't think that there should be any lapses in our security apparatus, because I think there have been one dead, 2 men in the past few weeks, and I do think that even if Buhari was in the country or not, there shouldn't have been room for those killings in the first place. I heard of some Boko Haram members attacking I think a Hami Barrack or so. For me, I find it very, very, very sad that bandits or Boko Haram members can attack a place that's supposed to be the custodian of arms in the first place. I mean, so I think that either Buhari is in the country or not, I think that our security operatives should be should be at the top of their game. And I also do think that the Minister of Defense and all other security agencies should be ready to do their job, either the president is in Nigeria or not.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the second question he was asked when he got back to the country, and that's about his cabinet. He said he hadn't had any conversations with any person as to who will make up the next cabinet come May 29. But in your opinion, do you see much change in the cabinet? Is there going to be a major cabinet shake, or we're going to see more of the same persons?
Well, the honest truth is I think we're going to see more of the same persons because this is the second time. And yes, we might have few changes here and there, maybe for those who didn't deliver as expected. Maybe there may be 1 or 2 changes, but I don't think that the change will be that visible because they've done the first term. This is the second time. All those who were in the first term, for me, were very instrumental to him to come back to the second term because they all have mandate. Most of them delivered their polling units fairly. So I don't think that there's really going to be much changes in the cabinet. But, of course, he's the president. He does not want to let the cat out of the bag yet. That's why he didn't respond to the media's questions. So let him take his time, but we want him to do that as soon as possible so that does not continue to linger on and at the end affect what's going on across board.
Do you truly believe that, delivering polling units during the elections will have any role to play as to who becomes a cabinet member?
Well, for me, in Nigeria of today, as long as you played a significant role or you were very instrumental to the election of the president, to say, or a major stakeholder in the political seat, I think there should be some of compensation. That's the honest truth. So for those who have delivered their polling units, I think this is the time for them to reap what they sow. Because the honest truth, for every hard work, there should be a reward. So if the presidency or a governor of a state feels that it needs to, I know some people whose name has been penned down for commissioner and other key positions in the state. That's because they played a very key role in the last election for various governorship candidates. So of course, if you deliver your polling unit, that's a big job. It's not easy to deliver a polling unit.
Well, that doesn't that sacrifice competence on the altar of giving handouts, so to speak, for helping them get a position?
Well, it does, because of course you don't just give people positions without testing their competence in that position. But then, like I say, this is Nigeria. We'd like to get rewarded for effort. For me, if I was a governorship candidate and I win, I wouldn't just put people in positions that they won't be able to fit into. Of course, everybody has their professional backgrounds of what they can do. You look at what they can do, and you fix them into those positions. I mean, not just for you to pick anybody and put anywhere. That so it has to be in line with what the person can deliver on professionally.
Well, that conversation wraps up news across Nigeria. When we come back after the short break, we'll bring you plenty more reports from the rest of Africa as well as the international front. Just stay with us. Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you're watching news on the Hour and Plus TV Africa. We now begin our Africa news package with reports from Libya as the Eastern Libyan Forces commander Khalifa Haftar urges his troops trying to take Tripoli to battle harder and even teach their enemies an even bigger lesson, because the Muslim month of Ramadan that begins on Monday was a month of holy war. On an audio tape released by his forces spokesperson, who said Ramadan had not been a reason to hold previous battles when he seized the eastern cities of Benghazi and Derna, as he expanded his power and the country collapsed into chaos after toppling of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. His comments came just hours after the United Nations called for a week-long humanitarian truce, following a month of fighting for the capital that has displaced 50,000 people and killed no less than 400 and badly damaged some southern districts. In a statement earlier on Sunday, the United Nations mission in Libya appealed for a truce starting on Monday morning at about 4 a.m. local time to coincide with the beginning of Ramadan. As the United Nations issued its statement, artillery shelling could be heard coming from the southern outskirts of the capital, where the LNA has been trying to breach defenses by Tripoli forces. The renewed conflict threatens to disrupt oil supplies, drive increased migration across the Mediterranean to Europe, and scupper United Nations plans for an election to end rivalries between parallel administrations in Libya's east and west. And in Niger, the Interior Ministry said that the 55 people had died in a tank truck blast in Niamey near an airport on Sunday night. The truck had overturned on railway tracks, later exploding when people tried to collect fuel that was leaking. The authorities also stated that many of the victims have been admitted to hospital following the incident. On the flip side of this break comes our foreign news package now. On the international front now, in the U.S., President Donald Trump said on Sunday that Special Counsel Robert Mueller should not testify in Congress about the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, after saying on Friday it was up to the Justice Department's top official. Trump said on Twitter that Democrats in Congress were seeking a redo of Mueller's report, which declined to conclude whether the president's effort to impede the investigation constituted obstruction of justice. Attorney General William Barr has said he has no problem with Mueller testifying, and the Democratic representative Adam Schiff, who chairs the House Intelligence Committee, said Democrats needed to hear from officials beyond Barr, including former White House counsel Don McGahn. Mueller and McGahn will testify as well. The American people deserve the truth, he said on Twitter. And in other reports from Russia, authorities have said a deadly fire on board an Aeroflot passenger jet was probably caused by pilot error, technical malfunction, or adverse weather conditions, apparently referring to reports that lightning struck the plane after takeoff. Emergency workers said on Monday that they had removed 41 bodies from the scorched tail section of the Russian-made Sukhoi Superjet 100, confirming Sunday's fire as Russia's deadliest aviation accident in several years. The country's transport minister has said that there is no reason to ground the fleet of Sukhoi aircraft, which is the leading civilian passenger jet developed in Russia since the days of the Soviet Union. The jet makes up 1/5 of the fleet of Aeroflot, the national carrier. And video taken from the inside, the plane showed panic as flames enveloped the right engine and wing, and smoke began filling the cabin. Crew members said it was a hit by hail while flying through clouds near Sheremetyevo Airport before apparently being struck down by lightning. It's now time to bring you business news updates. Talking business now, oil prices dropped by more than 2% on Monday after Donald Trump on Sunday said he would hike tariffs on Chinese goods this week. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $60.44 per barrel on Monday, down by $1.50 per barrel from their latest settlement. Brent crude oil futures were at $69.34 per barrel, down by $1.51 per barrel from their last close. Well, that's it on business news. It is all still to come. We have entertainment and sports news.
Getting relaxed at a great hotel and spa, shopping in the best malls of this world, and touring the City of Gold. There is just one destination that can make you have all experiences in one. Discover Dubai with Wakanow.com. Book your travel with Wakanow and get free airport pickups in Dubai. Wakanow can book your flights, hotel, tours, and much more. We have an international travel sim for use anywhere in the world with non-roaming rates. Contact Wakanow.com for the cheapest prices to Dubai. Wakanow.com.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Niger, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way they inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Niger, every will enjoy television news for Bonge Pidgin English.
For more story, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
On the lighter side of life now, in the world of entertainment, American voice actor and singer Jim Cummins' legal battle with his ex-spouse has been nothing short of explosive, as legal officers and child protection services from more than 2 states in the U.S. have been involved in the ongoing case for many years now. Presently, there are 16 reports in relation to the Disney voice actor involved in the mismanagement of his 2 children. Now, according to reports, his ex-wife, Stephanie, declared in a statement that she needs all the help she can get as a child has been kidnapped from her. She also alluded to Cummins' connection to the abduction after stating she was a victim of rape and emotional abuse while married to him. Now, according to Prince Harry, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has given birth to their first child, a boy. And according to reports, it was in the early hours of this morning when the Duchess went into labour and the Duke was by her side all throughout. It follows weeks of speculation about when Meghan might give birth, but no details have been given about where she is having a baby. The baby boy will be 7th in line to the British throne behind Prince Charles, Prince William and his 3 children, as well as Prince Harry. He will also be the 7th great-grandchild for Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. Meghan's pregnancy was announced in October last year during her first overseas tour with her husband in Australia. A few weeks ago, the Duchess and Duke announced they wanted to keep the arrival of their first child as private as possible.
Yes, I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support for everybody out there, from everybody out there. It's been amazing. So we just wanted to share this with everybody.
Well, Plus TV Africa definitely extends all the love and support to them as well. Now, the very best in sports coming up right after this. Talking football now. In a press conference on Monday, today Liverpool's coach Jurgen Klopp confirmed the striking duo of Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino will miss the crucial UEFA Champions League semi-final second leg against Barcelona. Roberto Firmino has been struggling with a groin injury in recent weeks, while Salah was stretchered off during Liverpool's 3-2 win over Newcastle United with a head injury. The absence of both forwards compound the difficulty of the task for Jurgen Klopp's side, who are 3-0 down after the first leg. As regards Salah's injury, Klopp affirmed that the Egyptian was concussed and his omission from the team is not down to precautionary measures but an adherence to concussion procedures. He, however, said the Egyptian feels good and should be ready for Liverpool's final game of the season at Anfield against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Well, there you have it. What wraps up our news roundup event at this hour from our Lagos studio. For more news, updates and broadcasts, please follow us at Plus TV Africa. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And please do also remember to subscribe to our YouTube page at Plus TV Africa. We have plenty more updates at the next of the top hour. To stay with us on Plus TV Africa, I'm David Alabi.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way they inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every will enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the result of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I think we've done very well in the very difficult circumstances in which we took over governance.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say!
The perception in itself does more harm than actual corruption that you have.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
edged champions of the that clubs like United and Arsenal are golf, away from City and Liverpool. So going into next season, if this season is anything to, bank on as regards a projection for next season, you just get a feeling that it's going to be another massive struggle for a top 4 finish.
Very true, massive struggle for a top 4 finish, and for Manchester United. Well, when we'll get there, we'll get to talk about everything that happened over the weekend. And for Pep Guardiola, the manager of Manchester City, some seasons back he said he didn't have any problem coming down to England to be a coach, and he also went on to say that EPL isn't so tough. But yesterday he actually confessed that the EPL is one of the toughest league. He actually said it's the toughest league in world football. So we'll give it to Pep Guardiola. If you're talking about the toughest league in the world, what do you make about the Nigeria Professional Football League? This is a league where anything can happen. So I'll actually go with it and say that the Nigerian Professional Football League is actually a tough one, and probably one of the toughest in the world. No pun intended. Right there. Looking at the results of matches that were played yesterday to flash on your screen. An amazing weekend again in the world of football. Sunshine Stars defeating Wiki Tourists by
terms of qualifying, but you look at it, it was a tackle from behind. I would give that as a penalty any day, any time. So, and it was good to see that MFM were able to grind out that one. Rivers United will feel a bit hard done by because they could have gotten a point from the game. But overall, you get the feeling that I think the winners on the day were well deserved.
Very true. Talking about MFM's game in that one, well, one of the major challenges we're having with the Nigeria Professional Football League is viewership. We don't get to see these games on television because if we do, then most of those controversial calls would be curbed because most of the fans will be talking about it, and the LMC will have a clear picture of what we are talking about. And with that result, MFM still remain third on the table with 27 points. We get to see the table flash on your screen. And Rangers International still top of the log with 31 points. Enyimba comes second. That's talking about Group A table. Enyimba comes second with 28 points, just 3 points behind Rangers International. And all the teams have actually played 17 matches, so all even on the league. And MFM 27 points. They are about 4 points away from the first position. That's Rangers International. Not so good, but if they can pick up wins in their other games, they just might find their way to the top of the log. And Remo Stars, Niger Tornadoes, Kwara United, and Wiki Tourists, they are in the relegation zone of the NPFL Group A. That's from 9th position to 12th position. You get to see the Group A table on your screen. Now, looking at that now, what hopes do you think MFM has to make it to the top?
Well, difficult to say they really stand a chance because Rangers are still in there, you have Enyimba as well. So I think the goal would just be try as much as possible to finish in the top 3. Top 2 may be difficult considering the form that Enyimba are in at this point in time. But Rangers have stumbled 3 successive losses. That could also count as a motivation for them to push forward up the table. Overall, I do think that the top 2, top 3 wouldn't even have issues. It's those in the relegation waters. You look at Remo Stars, I think everyone expected them to get relegated.
14 points.
14 points, that as good as gone. You have Niger Tornadoes in there as well. I wasn't expecting much from them. But Wiki Tourists,
yeah.
That's the surprise. Wiki Tourists, what's happening, 22 points. Yes, I understand quite well that insurance is also in the mix. It's just goal difference. They could also push them down. But Wiki Tourists wasn't a club you would expect to be in that zone at this stage of the season. They're a team good enough to make a top 6. Overall, I think I think Aqua United and Enyimba will probably finish top 2. It's just the points
in favor of Liverpool, and for Firmino, he didn't get to feature in that one, and we're not sure if he will feature against Barcelona in the Champions League. And for Mohamed Salah as well, another doubtful player for Liverpool against Barcelona. But let's enjoy the highlights coming from that game between Newcastle United and Liverpool.
Market for £15 million. Get good players.
West Brom have finished in that group. Stoke 7 3 times.
Sadio Mane and Mo Salah had no room with which to play. He's hooked it via a deflection into the Gallagher end, and Liverpool have a corner.
Yeah, I think he does very well to
advanced. Alexander-Arnold's delivery. Van Dijk! Liverpool back on. Atsu snatches a big Magpie equaliser. Atsu. Ayoze Perez has hit the bar. Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah! Does it one more time! And Liverpool snatch their precious lead back. Well, it is exhilaratingly competitive. Liverpool had their lead, courtesy of Virgil van Dijk, unmarked. Another rattle at this, and Atsu's beyond Lovren. It's Atsu's cross, and it's a really... Keys corner. Rondon! Has ripped it in! Toying with them. Jose Perez against Fabinho. Forgiven. Flung in by Shaqiri Origi! And Liverpool are fine on the time! And still they dream! The Reds will not be shaken off! And Divock Origi's come up with another! A bundle of red bedlam!
Interesting game of football right there, talking about the English Premier League, where we saw Liverpool defeat Newcastle United. It was a tough one, but they needed all 3 points to go top of the log, and hoping that Leicester City, talking about their coach now, former manager for Liverpool, Brendan Rodgers, can do them the favour and the honour by helping them defeat Manchester City or play out a draw. Then we'll see Liverpool standing a higher chance of winning the EPL title this season. Looking at that game, at some point, before the game, I felt because this has to do with former Liverpool managers now. Yeah. Brendan Rafa Benitez, former Liverpool manager, playing against Liverpool. I thought he was going to say, okay, let's take it calm on Liverpool and allow them win. But it was fire for fire all through 90 minutes.
Yeah, I like the
98 minutes.
98. I like the fact that they didn't even sit back. You know, it made it more competitive. It made it interesting and intriguing because you expect a title race like that to go down the wire. There should be a fight in there. And that's what we saw Liverpool bring to the table. I think you have to give kudos to Newcastle United. They could have been lax about it. Yeah. At least safety has been secured, you know, in terms of being in the Premier League next season. But they showed the character and the grit that they can, you know, actually put on display to really make it difficult for Liverpool. But you have to give kudos to Liverpool as well. They've been grinding out results. They've scored more late winners than any club, you know, in the Premier League. Where I mean late winners, goals and 90th minute thereabouts. And then you have Origi, who is on the bench but can easily come in and make the difference. We saw that against Everton, you know, in the Merseyside derby, where it was a goalless draw till the 97th minute, where he popped in the goal. Now doing it again. Good news for Liverpool is the fact that they have players who can make it happen. I think the sad one would be the fact that Sturridge was really not in this game. Yeah, you know,
I don't think should have started.
Despite taking the place of Firmino. Firmino is a big blow for them. It's a big blow because he missed this. They were able to grind out the results. Barcelona, there's a 3-0 deficit, you know, in there. He's not going to play. And you look at the league as well, the final day against Wolverhampton Wanderers. It's going to be a big miss because Wolverhampton Wanderers are 7th on the log, and they need to win that game to cement, you know, European football as well. So
I don't think even if they win the game, I don't think they would have a chance or a shot at European football.
Well, pending
the gap
the distance,
Manchester United and
looking at how it goes, but you know, the seventh place team as well would definitely have a shout for European football. So let's see how it is. I think overall for the match itself, it shows the grit that Liverpool has displayed all season, and I like the fact that they were able to make it count. Now let's just hope that Salah's injury is not so serious that would rule him out of not just the Barcelona tie, but the final game of the season.
Very tough one. Mixed feelings for Liverpool fans. Yes, they celebrated over the weekend, but they were actually sad that Salah went out in that game, and also losing Firmino. We're looking forward to the game against Barcelona, talking about the Champions League, and if they don't get to feature, remember there's a 3-0 deficit they have to overturn. If they lose out on that one, well, we'll look forward to next year, next season, if they can win the Champions League. But for that, I think it's actually it's a difficult one for Liverpool against Barcelona. Still talking about the EPL, let's go straight to Manchester United. Their top 4 hopes has ended after they played out a 1-0 draw against already relegated Huddersfield. And the Manchester United fans are fuming. They are very angry. I don't know what to call this sort of performance against the Huddersfield Town, that everyone has been beaten black and blue. Manchester United couldn't just get the result against the team.
They couldn't get it. Even the goal was a gift, from the goalkeeper itself. I mean, that's not to take anything away. This was the equalizing goal for Huddersfield. Could De Gea have done better? He tried as much as possible to make himself big enough, to narrow the angle. But the striker was just smart enough to make it, into the net. Now the worry for United is the performance against Huddersfield was even lax. It was really awful. It didn't show the urgency you required from a team, fighting for a top 4 finish. And that shows you that there's a whole lot of work that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to do in terms of recruitments, laying off some players, and, just pushing the players to give their all. I think for United, they would look back at this season and realize that it's one that they could have made it count in terms of top 4 finish, considering how they played well when Solskjaer was the interim manager, and over the last 8 matches where he's been the permanent manager, just 2 wins. It's awful.
Very true, awful performance for Manchester United there, and for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager for Manchester United. He said that some players will not feature for Manchester United next season. So looking forward to that flushing of those players. And Arsenal's top 4 hopes also dented after the draw against Brighton and Hove Albion. And for Arsenal, for them to make top 4, it's quite massive. You know what we'll do in Nigeria here? When we start doing
bring out the calculators.
Bring out calculators. Now, Everton needs to defeat Tottenham Hotspur by 2-0, and Arsenal need to win their last game, which is against Burnley, by 6-0 to overturn the 8-goal deficit between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur for them to secure top 4 finish. But this game, it wasn't such a good. For the first 10 minutes, we felt like Arsenal were going to tear these guys apart. But hey, he ended in a 1-0 draw. Disappointing performance. Disappointing
results. And you get the feeling that they won't get the result they need in the last day. I don't think Spurs will lose 2-0. And I don't think Arsenal will win 6-0 their last game.
Scored 3.
now it's difficult because they've dropped points against teams that they should have picked maximum points, even at the Emirates Stadium. This is Brighton, who fought the relegation battle till the penultimate game of the season, and then you have the Crystal Palace loss at Emirates as well. These are matches that they could have won, but hey, a whole lot has to be done defensively for Arsenal. We've talked about Koscielny's 3+. Injuries are beginning to set in. He needs to, have a replacement. There's a Mustafi who most Arsenal fans don't even want to hear his name or expect him to be on the pitch. And then there's the issue of the goalkeeper as well. Czech has left. Ramsey has left. So a whole lot of recruitment is also going to take place at Arsenal. And you also talk about playing style. So some people have termed it boring. It's not as exciting as it was under Wenger, especially during his flourishing years. So we also blame Emery for how Arsenal has fared. A whole lot of things to really look at.
Very true. Talking about the guys who have left the club, Aaron Ramsey has bid farewell to Arsenal, and he was in tears yesterday. We also saw Peter Cech right there, and for Danny Welbeck, he was also there to say farewell to the club. These 3 guys have been confirmed to be leaving at the end of the season. Aaron Ramsey, the one you see on the screen, is heading to Juventus, where he played the very best of football alongside superstars like Cristiano Ronaldo right there, and Dybala at that club. So good one for Aaron Ramsey. And since Aaron Ramsey got injured, Arsenal have been performing badly. If he wasn't injured, I'm sure Arsenal would have been able to secure the top 3 position in the MPFL. Well, it was a great performance. It was a great one having Aaron Ramsey at the club. And for Aaron Ramsey, he was more like the longest serving player for Arsenal after the likes of Fabregas and Van Persie left.
Definitely. 369 matches played, 64 goals, 62 assists. It's decent in terms of the goals and assists. It's decent enough for a midfielder like him, who is also injury prone, it must be said, 369 matches over the course of 11 years. Great feat. I think he's laid his mark on the club. Yes, it may not be like the Dennis Bergkamp and probably the Thierry Henry, but he's also in the mix of probably the B class, if you want to term it like that. And I think the ovation he was given, the send-forth was well deserved. Well deserved. You have Peter Cech in there as well at 36. You don't expect much. So now the question is, who will Arsenal look at from the transfer market to replace Ramsey, to replace Cech in terms of the quality these guys have? And do not forget that the market is now inflated. Will Arsenal be ready to dole out the cash in terms of probably 70, 80 million pounds? I mean, it's a market where goalkeepers even go for 70, 80. So how much more very good or world-class players, in terms of midfielders? So a whole lot has to be done. I expect nothing less than £150 million to be spent by Arsenal, in the transfer window. But the bulk of that money would go to the defense line. Koscielny needs a replacement. Mustafi shouldn't even get near to him again. Socrates quite all right. Yes, but you need players. And then you look at the goalkeeper as well. Is Leno good enough to be the number one?
The one goalkeeper.
Because when you look at teams like Arsenal, United that have struggled, compare their personnel, their players to that of Liverpool and City that are doing so well. Which of Arsenal's who among Arsenal's defenders can make Liverpool's first 11?
Don't even go into that.
Or City. No, that's how you get to really know.
Yeah, I totally understand you, but we know what Unai Emery is doing at the club, and the rumors we are getting now is that he's not going to get up to 100 million for the transfer window. But I'm sure what has happened so far this season, they should be able to dole out the cash to bring in these quality players into the club. And for Chelsea, yes, they won their game against Watford and they secured the number 3 position. They've already posted pictures on Twitter celebrating their Champions League, or rather the Champions League welcoming them back to the competition. Gary Cahill, yes, this was him being thrown into the air when he played his last game for Chelsea. And from there, let's quickly run to the NBA where it's happening. It's still tough right there. The NBA playoffs, the Raptors, talking about the Toronto Raptors, they've actually tied the series against Philadelphia 76ers 2-2 in the series. Interesting game of basketball right there.
Yeah, interesting. Kawhi Leonard, coming in again. I was impressed with his performance because he's the 2-time NBA player, defensive player of the year. You expect him to do more of the defensive work than the offensive work. But we saw him last night, 39 points, 14 rebounds. It was making it happen. And then, from different ranges, you had a mix of a variety of shots, mid jumpers, behind the arc. Lots of fadeaway shots as well. I think overall, he's just coming into his own with the Raptors team. And you have to give it to him, really. And one other thing they did was they made use of their center, Marc Gasol, to screen other defensive players, and then that gave him the opportunity to have a clear view at shots, and it's really worked well for them. Overall, I think this series will probably go down to a 7th game.
Wow,
it's quite competitive, 2-2 right now, and Game 5 is in Portland, is in Toronto. So the Raptors have the home court advantage in there to go ahead 3-2, but the Sixers would not just go away. They would also come up and show a bit of fight. And I think for the Raptors, they've improved from the last 2 NBA playoffs where they got blown away by the Cleveland Cavaliers with James back then. Last year it was a 4-0 sweep, and same thing 2 seasons ago. But this time around, they've grown and they're showing it. So I think we should see Game 7.
Very true. We should see Game 7 and the Golden State Warriors against the Houston Rockets. 2-1 in the series. Looking forward to the 4th game. Talking about Game 4. If the Houston Rockets can get 4 in that 2-2 in that one. But our producer, I think he's a Manchester United fan. He has said we should leave the studio. Any words before we leave?
Well, there's also the Nuggets, Nuggets as well, making it happen. It's 2-2 as well now against Portland Trail Blazers. I think overall that would also go down to 7.
Okay, well, he's screaming in my ears, a Manchester United fan in the control room. I don't know what he has drunk this morning. Yeah, he's at the wheel at the moment. Well, we have to wrap up the show this morning talking about Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. I hope you enjoyed the package. Well, we'll come your way again, same time, same station, Plus TV Africa. I'm Udoka Njoko. Thank you, Samson, for coming.
A pleasure, bro.
Keep it locked down to Plus TV Africa. We'll give you the best when it comes to TV programming.
You're watching Plus TV Africa, and this is Tea Time. I loved the energy when I came in here. It was so positive. I was like, I can live here.
My real names are Akbofyokobo, Akbolobomemere.
I think my father is a comedian because most times when he calls me, he's like, yo, make sure you use condom, you know, them girls out there.
So are you telling me I should have shot my shots?
Ife, you are my younger brother.
Age is nothing but a number. Well, I'm a vampire.
I believe in equal rights for women, and I also believe that a man is the head of the house, so we need to draw our limits somewhere.
It feels so good. Now can I do my jam now?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you.
The Ramadan Kareem globally commenced on the 6th of May 2019 as Muslims around the world observed the customary 30 days fast. Plus TV Africa visited the Lekki Central Mosque in Lagos, Nigeria, to speak with the Imam of the mosque, Ridwan Jamil, on the essence of this holy month of Ramadan.
Ramadan is a very fantastic event in the life of a Muslim. One, it brings about unity among the Muslims. It demonstrates universality of man and unity of mankind. God wants us to be one, as He Himself is one. We have only one Lord and one God. Allah has created us, and we have different tribes, colors, and languages. But these are not reasons for us to discriminate against one another. So fasting has been prescribed since Allah instituted Islam. This is what we have in the Quran, in Quran chapter 2, verse 183. Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, believers, kutiba alaykumus siyam, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Fasting has been prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those who came before you. That is, those who came before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah says, la'allakum tattaqun. The purpose is, God wants you to be pious. And when you are fasting, you abstain from certain things. That will lead you to piety. When you are fasting, you keep away from what to eat, your food, your drink, and sexual intercourse from dawn to dusk. So Ramadan is meant to discipline us, how to discipline ourselves to become decent people, to become morally upright, to be closer to Allah. The purpose is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, for you to become pious. That is, the purpose of fasting is to build in you piety, God consciousness, sincerity, and faith. Early in the morning, before sun appears, and also when the sun sets. That is what is known as fasting. That's the time frame for fasting. After sunset, one is allowed to eat whatever you want to eat. You can drink, you can have sexual relations with your wife until the other day. Ramadan is now an opportunity God gave us to unite again as all Muslims. That's why all Muslims now are fasting all over the world, wherever they are found. And when you are so united, Ramadan is also to teach you that as humanity, you must be humane. As you are united in humanity, you are doing the same thing, you have to be humane. You have to love one another with true love. Love which brings about kindness, which brings about compassion, which brings about generosity to others. There is more to fasting than keeping away from eating and drinking. So what is expected of us is to conduct ourselves in a good way. Because our Prophet ﷺ said, "Man lam yada' qawla az-zur wal 'amala bih." Ramadan is a month that we should be closer to Allah than ever. This is an opportunity for us. So Allah wants us to make much supplications in this month of Ramadan because prayers are answered. This month is month of forgiveness. Allah forgives us our sins because of our faith in Him and because of our love for Him, keeping away from things we strongly desire for the sake of God. So for our colleagues, the Muslims, the non-Muslims generally, who may want to participate in this fasting, you are all welcome, but with a condition. You have to declare La ilaha illallah, that there is no God who deserves to be worshipped except one God, that is Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So once you declare this, and you join us also in prayers, the 5 compulsory prayers, fasting is okay, you can join us and be fasting. But without these 2, so fasting will not be valid for any non-Muslim.
For Plus TV Africa, Irene Ubani.
On the show tonight, the Nigerian Army bans the use of motorcycles in Kano, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kaduna, Kebbi, as well as Niger states. Also, Maitama Yusuf, member of the board of directors of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Maitama Yusuf, who is 72, was accused of corruption by the Buhari military administration in the early 1980s, but he has been appointed once again as a board member of the Nigerian Railway Corporation. What changed? Well, this is Plus Politics, and I'm David Alapi. Now, banditry has become the bane of the North in the past month, causing the Nigerian Army to ban the use of motorcycles within the hinterland as well as the forest of 7 states. The acting director, Army Public Relations Colonel Seguro Moses said, and I quote, "The Army has over time observed the use of motorcycles by bandits, kidnappers, criminal elements, as well as their collaborators as enablers to perpetrate their crimes, especially in the states within the northwestern part of the country." Well, join me now in our Lagos studio. We have Daniel Odukpe to discuss much more on this matter. Hello, Daniel. Now, what do you make of this ban, really? Some have said, well, this is a step in the right direction because in trying to nip